WebEx.
I think some use
No,
Zoom.
some
The
use
second
Teams.
floor uses Zoom,
Some,
and a lot use Teams.
right, some have the ability to do Teams outside the office, for some reason we don't.
I think we
I
do.
don't think we do now? We didn't for the longest time.
Not everybody has it, so you can't.
Poor guy's got security risk next to his head. It's like the TSA.
Okay, are we on? Gary, we're on?
Oh, yes, we are,
Okay.
sorry.
This meeting is being recorded. I haven't seen the sign, but I haven't seen it. All right, I think it's time to start. I'm Mark Pattison, representing the Secretary Robert Rodriguez and Chair of the committee. I'll call the March meeting of the New York State Cemetery Board to order. I have no particular opening remarks, but just reminding people that if you're online, to mute your line, and if you're not speaking, because that makes everything work better, and please identify yourself when you're speaking so we can keep track of it. We only have two of us here today, but I'm joined by Tom. Tom?
Yeah, Tom Fuller, representing Dr. James McDonald, Acting Commissioner of Health.
Right, and Joe Faber, representing the Attorney General, is on vacation, I think. So, we distributed the minutes of the last meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to the minutes?
No, I couldn't have.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting as distributed.
I'll second.
Sure. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Our council distributed a report on legislation. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Rob?
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Ooh, there we go.
So I just want to point out that A979S1333, which was a chapter amendment to the natural gas reduction statute, was signed into law on March 3rd.
Okay.
Other than that, Division and I continue to work on regs to implement natural gas reduction, and I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the legislative report that you may have.
We're writing them as we understand them now, right?
Do you want to mention that other statute since it was not in your report?
Oh, no, I'll catch that next one.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions
It's a one
for
house bill so far. anyway.
council on legislation or regulations? Thank you, Rob. And division report from Liz Paulshek, our director.
Yeah, hang on, so sir, this is about Elm Lawn. I'll tell him after. We have a little late
Yeah.
back and forth on Elm Lawn, but we're set. So I guess not too much. My report's all about natural organic reduction this week. So Mike Seelman, Rob, and I have been on. Yesterday we were on an all-day conference on natural organic reduction. We participated virtually, but it's
I just sent her an email.
Please mute your line. I'm not sure. I can't see the.
Lou Lewis.
Yeah, I'm on it.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Mute, please.
I don't know if
Okay,
you can hear
well,
us.
the notice I
Then
got
the
says
issue maybe you can't
10:30,
hear us. Do you have the ability
I'm
to
on
mute
it.
people?
and
I have no idea how to do it here.
early.
Again, they must be able to hear us.
Thanks.
I'm not sure. Sometimes people have trouble connecting the receiving end audio.
There's no options.
All right, we'll plow through. So Louis, give me a report.
That's right, yeah, so we're on this conference on, they called it body composting, we call it natural organic reduction. So it's a 2-day conference. We went through the first day of it. It's resuming again at 11. Mike's gonna pop off the meeting to catch the second day sessions. I'll probably catch up with some of them later. So it was very interesting, very informative about it. Since that's not enough, Mike Seelman and I are actually gonna be traveling to Seattle next week to see natural organic production in action. Seattle being one of only 2 places in the country, Colorado being the other, where there's only one facility, one very small facility that would allow us to see them. We're gonna see 3 natural organic reduction facilities, and while we're there, we'll take a look at an alkaline hydrolysis facility as well, since there is legislation pending in the legislature, as there has been for years, that has gone nowhere, to allow for alkaline hydrolysis. In other news, the governor signed the chapter amendment on natural organic reduction. One of the things it does is extends the implementation to 180 days from the original date, right, Rob?
Yep.
So late June, it will be legal in New York, so cemeteries can apply for approval to open facilities. And by then, hopefully, having actually seen 3 facilities and worked our way through the regs and consulted with various and sundry partners, we'll understand the process sufficiently to regulate it properly. Other than that, we had, I'm blanking on the names of the cemeteries, but we had 2 successful meetings with cemeteries. One was a special meeting, the other was just a pre-meeting with trustees. They're both in Western New York. Michael, Katina, Cindy Craig, Sarah Levin, and Charles Crane worked on those, and I'm totally blanking on the names of the 2 cemeteries. But there are at least 2 more that we think are not headed in a direction of abandonment, at least not right now, and that's obviously a good thing.
You met with them because there was a threat of abandonment.
Or concerns about board succession or things like that.
Great.
There was risk involved, let's just put it that way. Did I have something else I was supposed to
3
do?
columbarium applications approved, Forest Lawn.
I know you're gonna make me remember them. Okay, yes, we have 3 delegated columbarium applications that we approved. 2 are part of the Forest Lawn group. One is at Forest Lawn itself. Second, which has plenty of columbariums. Another is at Gethsemane Cemetery, which is I believe is a former religious cemetery that was donated to Forest Lawn. That's their first columbarium. And a third one at North Syracuse Cemetery, which is their 5th columbarium. They not to be confused with the 5th column. They've been very successful in selling them, and so this is just sort of the next one in the installment. It's frankly the same amount of work for us to do them this way as we did when we presented them to you guys, but the big advantage is that nobody has to wait till the next board meeting. We can issue them when we're done. So those are done. We'll have a more comprehensive report on delegated duties at the next meeting. Before we move to vandalism report, Alicia, you want to report on annual reports?
Yeah, so we've gotten total 645 annual reports in so far this year, of which 297 are online.
So we're no longer at half, that's sad.
46%. Well, I think, probably a lot of people will do the online form at the last minute.
Do you have a breakdown Alicia, as to which types of cemeteries are filing? Anecdotally, this
I'm
looks
on a
like
conference call.
it's sized ones, that it's not the really small ones or the really large ones.
It's a
Yes,
combination.
confirmed, thank you.
We're getting a lot of them.
Again, somebody has not muted their line. We can hear the background conversation about you're having, so please try to mute your line. I think it's a guest, I can't see.
Lou Lewis.
Well, we also have a couple of other people who
No,
are
I looked
unmuted.
here, and
Oh,
he's the
okay.
one that's unmuted.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt there.
That's all I had on the division report.
Okay. Anybody have any questions of
It's muted now, right?
Lewis, of the division report? Okay.
Tom, you want to go with us to Seattle too?
I'd love to.
For 36 hours, flying the red eye back in economy?
You're just saying that to prove how cheap the state is.
I'm saying
Approval
that
it.
to prove that I am
Our
fiscally
stewards-
responsible.
Stewards of the tax dollars. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Louis, and again, lots of buzz about natural organic reduction.
Let me add, Cindy just emailed me the names of the cemeteries. It was West Middlebury Cemetery, that was Michael and Sarah. Cindy and I think Charles might have been involved in the background, or Sarah, I don't think she went with them. It was Gainesville, Maple Grove. Both of them are Wyoming County. So thank you, Cindy.
On the western part.
Okay.
Wyoming's near Colorado.
Let's move to the vandalism report and applications. We have 4 applications, but Alicia, do you want to update us?
Yeah, I posted my report online, it's available for everybody to look at. As of the writing of the report, we had paid out cash about $1.5 million from the vandalism fund for the fiscal year. Some more will be going up, hopefully be able to pay out another 100,000 or so.
Okay. Any questions about the vandalism report? Okay, we have 4 applications, all vandalism fund, vandalism category. No, 3 dangerous and 1 vandalism. The first one is East Otto Cemetery in Cattaraugus County in the amount of $51,640.30. Can someone present that to the board?
Is that Michael or Mike who's gonna be doing this one?
Auto, should be Mike.
Michael, yeah.
Yeah, hang on one second.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So Seaman can
get off
the meeting. Let's do comment last.
Okay.
So Seaman can get off the meeting.
Mike, we're waiting for you.
Choppy.
We hear you fine.
Okay, so East Otto Cemetery. Sorry, hang on one. Just having a problem. The document closed. This is the second in about 6 months for East Otto. And the first one was completed in late 2022 and went very well. The work was inspected. And here we are. Sorry about this. The estimate, they only received 1 bid, and it was from Glenn Priest for an estimate of $51,500. They placed the required ad. There was no response. The monuments are, the newest one was, the most recent was 1908, so they did have no records. We went out and we inspected the monuments, and there were, let's see, there were 41 that were found to be hazardous, and we inspected them, and all do appear to be hazardous, and we recommend approval. The contractor, Glenn Priest, is the same contractor who did the previous work, which was found to be very acceptable. Have any questions?
So one estimate on this one.
They solicited for more than 1, but just got 1 bid. Is that right?
My understanding from the packet is that they put a solicitation of bids in the newspaper, and the cemetery also followed up with a letter explaining that they only received one bid.
Okay. Just clarify that.
Correct. Also, the one bid did request 50% payment to start.
Okay, no questions? Council, any comments?
No comments from council.
I'll make a motion to approve the application of East Otto Cemetery in Cattaraugus County for the amount of $51,640.30 from the Vandalism Fund. Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Application's approved. Kennesaw Falls is in Montgomery County. 50 stones in the amount of $80,054.14. Is there someone to present that?
This is Mike Seelman. Len Breen wrote this report and inspected the monuments. However, he's not available today, so I'll present it. Kennesaw Falls Cemetery merged with Prospect Hill Cemetery in 2019. So this, up until 2019, had been two separate cemeteries. They put in an application for 50 hazardous monuments. Len went out, looked at the monuments, and agreed that they all appeared to be hazardous. The cemetery has stated that they do not have records of last lot owners, so they put an ad in the paper, the recorder, for 3 weeks. They did receive one response from the newest monument from 1991. Family saw the ad, contacted the cemetery, stated that they did not have funds to repair the monument. The next oldest monument, interestingly, is 1909, so there's a big spread there. It's the division's understanding that the cemetery has determined that the lot owners cannot be found. In this case, they got two estimates for repair. Both estimates would install 42-inch foundations. The low bid gives a 10-year warranty. And we recommend approval in the amount of $80,054.14.
Okay. Council, any comments on this application?
No, thank you, Mark.
Okay. Any questions from the board members? I'll make a motion that we approve the application of Kennesaw Falls in Montgomery County in the amount of $80,054.14. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application's approved. I'm gonna move Trumbill's Corner Cemetery up so that Mike can leave to go to the conference. We have an application from Trumbill's Corner Cemetery in Tompkins County. Tompkins though. And in the amount of $29,292.34. Someone present that to the board?
We did correct the agenda online. It was probably after the version you printed.
Maybe. Anybody presenting that?
This is Brendan Stanton with the division. We've got an application from Trumbull Corners Rural Cemetery of the town of Newfield in Tompkins County. This is their second application, and they have, excuse me, they have applied for the repair of 26 dangerous monuments. I did visit the cemetery a couple times, most recently in early December, to verify that the monuments were still in a condition that in need of this repair. They all still qualify, all 26 of them. The cemetery has indicated that it didn't have any address information. So, they published the legal advertisement and did not get any responses. As a result, I am recommending in favor of approval of this application in the amount of the lower estimate plus the cost of the legal notice, and that total is $29,292.34.
Thank you, Brendan. Council, any comments?
No comments from council.
Any questions from board members?
I'm just curious, where's Barnett Memorials? Where are they located? I'm from Tompkins County, and they don't ring a bell here.
Brendan, do you know
Sorry,
Barnett
I missed the
Memorial-
question.
where Barnett Memorials is?
Elbridge, Onondaga County.
So they're on the dock.
Yep.
That's why I didn't recognize.
All right, so I think I made a motion to approve the application of Trumbull's Corner Cemetery for dangerous monuments in the amount of $29,292.34. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Great, all in favor? Aye. Application is approved. Mount Carmel Cemetery in Queens is actually vandalism fund application in the amount of $6,500. Is someone presenting that?
Carrie?
Yep, I'm here. Yes, Mount Carmel is requesting $6,500 to replace a vandalized monument, not repair, because the whole thing has been damaged. The family found the damage in July of 2022, so it happened either then or prior to that, and notified the cemetery. The monument is it's a pretty large monument with a ledger and a large stone, and it is made of this highly polished black granite. And if you look at it, first the family said that it was landscaping damage. The cemetery examined it and said, no, there's no way this was caused by our landscaping or groundskeepers. It appears that there are impact marks all over the monument, and there are some chips, especially off of one part of the Star of David. It looks like it was hit with a rock or some other blunt, heavy object, and it is scratched on the sides and front as well. So the family notified the cemetery. The cemetery requested the family go through their homeowner's insurance. The family said, there's no way we're going to go through our homeowner's insurance for this, and they retained an attorney who sent a letter stating that they would not do so, which is why the cemetery waited a significant period of time to request funds for the vandalism. They also request that you consider this application, even though there is no police report and there was no posted public notice, because they did not want to attract unnecessary or unwanted, I should say, attention about this to the cemetery, because it could be a little volatile down there in Brooklyn and Queens all the time. And so they're asking for you to consider this application, even though there is no police report attached. I did examine the monument. I went to take a look at it. It definitely does look like an isolated incident of vandalism. There were no other monuments anywhere near it that had the same marks or blemishes. It's a whole section with the same type of monument. This monument was placed in about 2020, and it's fairly new, and it definitely looks damaged. It definitely looks vandalized. There were two estimates submitted, one for $6,500 from Lewis Monument Company, and one that was almost twice as much from, I believe it's New York Wholesale Monuments. So I would recommend approval of this application in the lower amount of $6,000.
Any other comments from council?
No comments from council.
Okay, any questions from board members?
No, this looks like it was targeted specifically, this particular stone.
It's sort of the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know, but there's no, I mean, we've been in and out of that cemetery a lot in the last year, and we've seen no evidence of vandalism.
There was nothing else in that entire section, and they were all similar stones in style and material, and that one definitely looks like somebody took a mallet to it, and it looks damaged, and it looked vandalized.
Right, to be clear, there are a couple of stones that had fallen in the last 10 years. Then there's some really old stones that are down, but there's nothing that looks like any kind of pattern of vandalism.
It could be just impulse opportunity as opposed to targeted, but, okay, so, no questions for that, so I'll make a motion to approve the application of Mount Carmel Cemetery in Queens to replace a vandalized monument in the amount of $6,500. Second. I never said subject to the availability of funds, but that would apply to all of our motions although we know that there's money available. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. That concludes our applications to the vandalism fund. We have several other applications to consider. First is a major renovation of Woodlawn Cemetery. Somebody like to present that too?
Sure, that's me. Woodlawn Cemetery has received a grant from the city of New York, Red Woodlawn, the Bronx, I should say. There are a few woodlawns to do some modifications to its existing Woolworth Chapel. There's kind of a entry hall, which is basically only used for entering and coat racks as it stands right now. The bathrooms are all at the top or bottom of sets of stairs. And the city's given them a grant to allow them to make the room ADA, build ADA compliant bathrooms there. They're also reconfiguring the outdoor space to add some ADA compliant parking and a ramp. This is all going to cost a little about $870,000, of which the cemetery is only spending about $100,000. They have more than adequate funds in their general fund to cover it, and it obviously makes sense to have them have accessible bathrooms. It also, I believe the chapel is either the chapel or the area of the cemetery, I believe, is landmarked. It's at least on the National Register. So whatever they've done, they're doing with an eye to preservation and conservation. It's not going to affect the overall aesthetic. They're going to have the only thing I noted is that the entry ramp that they're putting in is kind of long. But I spoke to them about it, and apparently that's where the city wants it, and I'm sure there are good reasons for it being there, since the people who provided them with the request and specifications know far more about this than I do.
Okay.
But it obviously makes sense. They do funeral and cremation services. They also use it as a bit of a multi-purpose space. It's a historic chapel, so
Okay.
making it more usable is a very good thing for the cemetery.
Great. Council?
The board can treat this as a type 2 under seeker pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.5C2, upgrading a building to meet building energy or fire codes, or alternatively, type 2 under 6 NYCRR 617.5C9, construction or expansion of a non-residential structure involving less than 4,000 square feet.
Do I need to make a motion with that regard?
No. I mean, if it's a type 2, it's not subject to seeker, so.
Okay, so we've determined it's a type 2 action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments on the application?
I don't have any other comments on the application.
Right.
I mean, just the board's approval should be subject to receipt of all other building codes.
The only other thing I'll notice is historical note is that these Woolworths are cousins to those Woolworths. They're not, in fact, those Woolworths. I mean, it's all the same family, but it's not the ones who actually built Woolworths in the U.S.
All right.
I did a whole rabbit hole of Google figuring out which Woolworth was which because I found it interesting.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the application for a major renovation for Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx. Do I have
Second.
second? All in favor? Aye, motion carries. We have an application from Fairview Cemetery for a long-term lease.
Len is off, so let me get up. I guess I'll do it. What, you want to do it?
Sure. As Lewis said, Len Breen wrote this report and looked at the cemetery, but I will present it. This is Mike Seelman. Fairview Cemetery is a 50-acre cemetery in the city of Beacon, Dutchess County. They seek to enter into a lease agreement with Verizon Wireless for the installation of a cell tower. Verizon would like to lease 10,000 square feet of land at the highest point of the cemetery to erect a monopole cell tower. They will install fencing around the base of the equipment. The area that they've would like to lease is about 300 feet from any existing or potential graves. It's in an area of dense woods. There's an existing access road to it, so it won't You know, it's not going to disrupt the existing cemetery area. The access road has not been used by the cemetery, but I guess it needs some updating, but it is there. The cost of the cell tower is estimated to be $350,000, and that will be borne by Verizon. The lease is for a period of 5 years with 4 additional extensions if both parties agree. There's a $5,000 initial payment and then $19,200 a year annual lease payment after that. The cemetery has requested that a portion of those funds go into the general fund, and I'll let Lewis or one of the accounting staff discuss that. At the end of the lease period, Verizon will remove the equipment. There was a question about the footings remaining. Len had discussed that with the cemetery, and they stated that they wanted the footings to remain. But perhaps they're in attendance and they can answer any questions related to that. From the investigative side, we have recommended approval of this major renovation and lease. Do you have anything to add, Lewis?
The only thing I'd mention is that just from an investigative perspective, and I'll defer to see if Carrie, do you want to try to explain the split, or do you want me to do it?
I can do it. Did
Okay.
you have another comment?
Yeah, the only other comment I had is that I think, Mike, you didn't mention, the cell tower is going up next to an existing water tower, so it's kind of a little spot in the cemetery which is already got not cemetery stuff there. So it's not really going to change the overall aesthetic of the cemetery because this area is sort of already doing kind of other stuff. It also is not going to be particularly noticeable unless you're up close because it's in a remote piece of the cemetery from the rest. The only other thing on that sort of a big picture financially is that the cemetery is mostly in the city of Beacon. So while we encourage cemeteries to find streams of revenue in general, that's especially important for a cemetery that's not in a town, where there's no backstop in case they do run out of money. Carrie, you want to explain the split?
Sure. So as Mike mentioned, the lease is 5 years, $19,200 a year, paid in monthly installments of $1,600 plus a $5,000 one-time signing bonus. The cemetery has requested to retain the $5,000 signing bonus toward its legal fees. As of a month ago, they had incurred already $3,400 in legal fees. They're also requesting to put 35% of the monthly proceeds, which would be $560 a month, or $6,720 a year, into its general operating account, the rest of which would be deposited into its permanent maintenance account. The funds that would go into the operating account would help offset the history of slight deficits from the cemetery, which they reportedly finished at another operating loss in 2022 and also in 3 of the 4 years prior to that. They also have a lot of repairs and general maintenance, roadways, trees down, and their mowing and maintenance costs, like many cemeteries, keeps increasing. So this amount in the operating account would help maintain their financial stability for the longer run. And the permanent maintenance proceeds would, of course, help them achieve greater earnings in the future.
Any concerns with the split or statutory issues?
I think that's you.
Okay. So just with the amount that they're asking to be deposited into the fund, no, I mean that's within the cemetery board's discretion. I did realize just before this meeting that the number of moving pieces with this application would probably require a large recitation. So I drafted a proposed order for the board immediately before this, which only Lewis has seen. And in there, I contemplate that Fairview Cemetery may retain $5,000, the signing bonus for necessary expenses from legal costs, and that they may deposit 35% of rent proceeds into its general fund to maintain and preserve the cemetery, which is the language of the statute.
Which reminds me, I totally omitted to mention one significant aspect of the application is that we did do an environmental assessment form. I always confuse that in the impact statement. We did do an environmental assessment form for the board's signature. I naturally forgot to bring up a copy for your hard copy for you to sign. I can get that afterwards, but I did share it with the board. Proposed findings that, in essence, we're treating this as an unlisted action, untyped, but that any environmental impact would be minimal or none. Various categories. It is in a particular type of habitat. There's a bunch of other things going on. It's a historic area, but given where the upshot is, given where it is, as I started explaining with the water tower, given where it is within the cemetery, it's really going to have next to no impact on anything. The only environmental impacts of any notice will be during construction. And once that's done, because there'll be trucks and stuff coming in and out. But once that's done, you'll barely even know the thing's there.
How long is construction?
Hold on. This is Mike's report. Give me a sec. I want to say it's a couple months, but let me check.
No, there's a member.
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. There's a member of the cemetery available.
Oh gosh, I did not text her to get on. My apologies.
You're firing on all cylinders, Liz.
So Lou Lewis, counsel for the cemetery, was on at least previously, and Scott Olson, counsel for Verizon. I believe I also saw.
I just open the floor to any comments from the cemetery. I have no questions in particular, but
Yeah, she's getting on right now. But the council, but council for the cemetery is here too.
Yes, I noticed that there was an open question about the retention of the footings in the event that the primary structure was removed. And I was very involved in the negotiations of this lease. And on behalf of the cemetery, so we wanted that so that perhaps in future, if we wanted to have a storage shed for equipment or a place for a small office, we would have the option of doing that at reduced expense. So I should also note that in Dutchess County, the county has on occasion gone into sites of this kind and installed their alarm systems on a smaller or similar tower. So we'd be prepared for that if the structure was removed.
Just pursuant to the cemetery leasing statute, if a cemetery is proposing to retain structures at the end of the lease, that is something that they need to apply to the cemetery board for permission to do. Okay. And I have not heard any programmatic or financial concerns in that regard.
Okay.
But I just wanted to tee that up to let the board know that is something that
as part of this approval, we're approving
retaining the footings.
Retaining the footings. Okay. One question is, what's the water tower? Who owns the water tower?
The water tower is owned by the city of Beacon.
So do you lease to them or something like that?
No.
Nature?
We back in the early '80s, they made a contract with the cemetery to put the tower on that piece of land, and they now own that piece of land in exchange for plowing the roads in the wintertime and maintaining the roads leading to the water tower.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your application?
Well, I just joined, so I really don't know exactly what was said. So I think Lou probably covered it for us.
Right,
Okay.
they discussed the division of the monies coming in. And so that will be approved, or it was recommended that it be approved as well.
Okay.
So we're approving the lease, which includes the application for structures to remain. Is there anything else that we're approving?
Would you like me to read my proposed resolution for the board?
Sure, that would be really helpful.
Do we have extra copies? You want-
I only have one
It
copy.
doesn't matter.
So read
Okay.
it first, then you share it.
All right. The New York State Cemetery Board has reviewed the materials submitted by Fairview Cemetery to lease land and construct a cell tower pursuant to Article 15 of the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law and 19 NYC RR Section 201.16, materials from the Division of Cemeteries and materials from Council, and hereby resolves that the board's determination on this application is subject to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, meaning the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and its implementing regulations. Pursuant to SECRA, the board classifies this as an untyped action and elects to proceed in an uncoordinated review. The board adopts the environmental assessment form and makes a negative declaration, that being in accordance with Lewis's recommendation. The board approves Fairview Cemetery's application to lease land and construct a cell tower in accordance with the application pursuant to following conditions. The approval is contingent upon Fairview Cemetery and Verizon obtaining all other required approvals and permits. Our understanding is that they have to fall to the city of Beacon. Fairview Cemetery may retain the cell tower footings at the conclusion of the lease. Fairview Cemetery may retain the $5,000 signing bonus for necessary expenses arising from legal costs. Fairview Cemetery may deposit 35% of rent proceeds into its general fund to maintain and preserve the cemetery. All other rent proceeds must be deposited into its permanent maintenance fund.
I gratefully make that motion.
It's a long motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion, application is approved. I'd like to go back to, did I forget to caveat the motion on Woodland? Is that subject to other?
No, you mentioned that.
Okay, all right. Great.
Are we done?
You are
done.
You are done. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
all
Thank you
Thank
both
you.
for participating.
Thank you.
I believe that is officially the first lease we've approved under the new statute.
It is. I didn't, yeah, it is.
Thank you for the work you put into it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to everyone for everyone's work.
I'll move on to
Unlocked.
Elm Lawn Cemetery, which is a land sale.
Michael, you wanna do this one? Or you want me to do it?
Louis, are you talking to me? Or
Yeah.
Mike Stillman?
You.
I do not have any.
Tillman's virtually in Colorado now.
Okay.
So do you wanna do it or you want me to?
Well, Louis, why don't you do it because we don't have
Okay,
to worry about
that's fine,
that.
I'll do it. So let me just call it up because I wanna get the numbers right. Elm Lawn since I think 2004. Why is Elm Lawn not in here? Oh my goodness, Elm Lawn is not here. All right, Elm Lawn Cemetery in Tonawanda since 2004 has leased property.
Last month.
What? Oh, it's last month's, right, that's right.
So,
So they leased property that's essentially been an office park, slash warehouses, slash light industrial. And that's been true since, like I said, it's been about 2004. They were approached by their lessee who said, hey, we want to buy this thing from you outright. They want to own it. And that way the cemetery gets the money and puts it in its permanent maintenance fund pursuant to the statute governing sales of cemetery land. It's essentially not going to change anything in terms of what this looks like. The land is separated from physically separated from the cemetery. It's never been used for cemetery purposes. There's no graves anywhere near it, and I guess the cemetery's made what I would characterize as a business decision that they'd rather have the cash in their permanent maintenance fund right now than the stream of revenue from the lease. But I should note this lease predates our cemetery leasing statute by almost 20 years, I guess 17 years. What I am looking for is the price. The sale price is approximately $1.59 million. There are a couple of adjustments in the sale, and that's consistent with the appraisals that they've provided. And We think it makes sense for them to do it. They realize that the money has to go into their permanent maintenance fund. There's also a little bit of a detour here with SECRA because the town of Tonawanda treated this as a type 1 action requiring a full coordinated review. Let us know, they somewhat cryptically said, we don't think this is a type 1, but we're going to treat it that way anyway, and we're going to be lead agency, and you're welcome to participate. And we responded saying, thanks for letting us participate, and we gave them our materials. And on Monday night, the town board met, and on recommendation of their secret committee, adopted a resolution issuing a negative declaration as to the project, which their focus was on the subdivision of the parcel from the cemetery itself. I think with that, the coordinated review of seeker is complete, and there is a negative declaration. And we think it makes, it's a business decision, but we think it doesn't obviously not make sense for them to take the money now and put it in their permanent maintenance fund.
They're sufficiently financed for their ongoing operations without this revenue stream?
The short answer is yes, we think so.
They don't run deficits. I mean, they're not going to run deficits as a result of it.
This is not going to make or break them.
Okay. You've done at least some form analysis of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's Charles says they've operated every one of the last 4 years. They've operated in a surplus. Last year they operated in a big surplus. The surplus in the last 2 years exceeds the difference. Would still be a surplus even if you subtracted the rent. Yes. But bear in mind, you're going to be investing that money in the permanent maintenance fund and generating income on that, so that will also go to partially offset that.
Helpful to have that.
I don't have a precise calculation.
Helpful to have that articulated. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know that Charles did a precise calculation of those
It's
numbers.
okay. It's okay. Council, do you have things to add?
No, only if you have, if the board has any questions about the memo I drafted in relation to
Does
secret.
that require us to take action?
No, so because the board acted as an involved agency and because the lead agency has issued a negative declaration, the secret review is
We're free
complete.
to approve
Yes.
or disapprove the sale, right?
Yes.
I will make a motion to approve the sale of land from Elmerwood Cemetery. Elmlawn Cemetery. It's not subject to anything else. There's no other conditions we need to add.
You might want to mention that pursuant to the statute, the sale proceeds less necessary expenses have to go into the permanent maintenance fund.
With the caveat that the sale proceeds less necessary expenses be invested in the permanent maintenance fund. Any other questions?
So from what I understand, this land is not even zoned for cemetery use anyways?
Yeah, I don't know whether it was ever zoned for cemetery use or if it got rezoned back in 2004 when the lease occurred. But they have adequate land separate and apart from this, and it's off separated from the cemetery in an area that even if you raised all the buildings and remediated the land, which would of course cost a fortune,
Right.
you're not going to be selling graves there successfully.
I can add, Louis, that it's adjacent to an interstate. It would not be acceptable, I think, to most people to put graves there.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I made the motion.
Second. Second.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. The application from Elmwood Cemetery South for land sale is approved. Last on our agenda is a request for a permanent maintenance loan from Niagara Falls Memorial Park. Who will present it?
I was just looking if Sarah's on. Carrie, do you want to do it
Sarah
or
is
should
on.
Sarah do it?
Sarah did a pretty thorough review. If you want to start and I can fill in any gaps, Sarah, if you're okay with that?
Oh, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. This is for an additional loan in addition to a loan that was approved in, I think, December of 2021 for Niagara Falls Memorial Park for a new retort.
they received a bill for additional charges from the manufacturer in the amount of $22,439, I believe. So
Yes.
they're requesting to add that to the current loan, which as of the date of my report, they have outstanding $161,760. They've been diligent in making their repayments. The repayment amount that was approved for the original loan was $1,320. We worked together to revise their payment terms to increase the payment each month to $1,650, which is basically equal to performing, I think it's 5 cremations a month, which will help them. You know, the new loan basically will help them be more productive. They're able to, you know, without being crude, but
We won't.
perform more cremations each month. And the reason that they're requesting to increase the loan is they do have general funds to cover it. However, they have equipment that is older, so this would help them basically retain their general funds to perhaps replace equipment that they may need to in the future.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Carrie, anything you want to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it. The application originally came in, they wanted to extend their term by 17 months, and Sarah did work with the cemetery, and they came up with not extending the term, but increasing it by $338 a month so that it was still repaid within the same term originally approved by the board in December of 2021.
Okay, so, yes, Rob?
Mark, if I could just add that I've followed up with counsel for the cemetery. The initial petition and proposed order that was drafted reflected that longer time frame. Council has since furnished a revised petition and proposed order that would reflect 108 monthly installments of $1,650 each and one final installment of $1,649. Such payments commencing the 15th of June 2023. So it would be that modification to the prior loan that we would be asking the board to approve.
If the board approves or the board recommends approval?
Recommends, yeah, of course, recommends approval for the Supreme Court to.
They haven't got a date yet in court, do they?
Not to my knowledge. The last time I was on the court.
All right, so this is the standard fare. Any other comments, questions, caveats, conditions? So my motion is to approve the modification of the, to recommend approval of the modification to the firm maintenance loan agreement.
Mhm.
Period.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Application is approved. That concludes our business. We have a cemetery board meeting scheduled for April 11th.
18th, we moved it to the 18th.
18th.
I have a conflict with the 11th, sorry.
Oh, we certainly want to accommodate that. And is there any other meetings?
Yeah, the only thing I'll mention is that we've had an application that we've been working to get complete information compliant with the statute from Pine Lawn to lease a large parcel of land. We got something from them, close of business Wednesday. We are hoping, the discussion of there have been there have been neighbors both for and against the project who've indicated that they want to be heard in connection with the project. And it's a pretty complicated thing. Our recommendation is not going to be a simple recommendation. So putting that all together, we think in an ideal world, we would have a separate meeting devoted just to that application. I'll also note Pine Lawn's got a fairly routine application for approval of lawn crypts that we weren't quite ready to, didn't have quite ready quite in time for this meeting. So we probably package those two together. We've penciled in a possible date of March 29th for a special meeting just to consider that. But we really won't know until, say, Monday, whether everything is good to go on our end. Rob and I both have to review the new submission, and our write-ups on that. That would not be our regularly scheduled meeting, obviously, we've had a March meeting, that'd be a special meeting. But we will, if we do that, we'll make that decision with sufficient time to do it on regular notice and give the interested parties adequate time to review the materials we'll be presenting. The other thing I'll note, and I'm not sure how this will work out, is there was a whole back and forth in connection with the FOIL request where the cemetery objected to production of a bunch of stuff as confidential proprietary material in the nature of trade secrets. That application was granted by the department in part. And so what you'll be seeing may not be the same thing that's posted publicly. We still have to work out exactly what we're going to do with that.
Okay.
Again, that's really a teaser, but we'll find out.
Again, our goal is to get it on the agenda and to give everybody sufficient time to participate.
If not, it'll be on for April 18th, and you should book out the entire day for that board meeting.
Don't like it. Don't like it. Okay. Any other business comments? We have public comment period. We welcome comments from the public on the business before us or other issues that could come before the New York State Cemetery Board. Is there anybody online wishing to address the board? Okay. Is there anybody else wishing to address the board?
Sure. David Fleming from the New York State Association of Cemeteries. NYSEC would just like to publicly thank the Senate and the Assembly for rejecting expansion of natural organic reduction to entities outside the cemetery industry in their budget proposals, and we hope that as things continue and progress, that we can continue to work with the division on the new regulations to implement NOR in New York, and look forward to the reports from the director following his visit to the West Coast.
You should probably mention your conference too, since our next meeting is April 18th.
The dates are May 1st through 3rd, I think. And that'll be at formally the Desmond again. So again, we always invite you folks to participate and would welcome your participation.
And the board meeting for May it's going to be a very short turnaround from the April 18th meeting will be May 2nd at the Desmond.
Okay. Anything else, anyone else wishing to address the board? I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting of the New York State Cemetery Board. To a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.